Okay folks, buckle up because we're about to dive into a topic that's seriously messed up. This isn't just another news story or a fleeting headline, this is a deep dive into one of the most pressing issues of our time. We're talking about wealth inequality, and specifically, the mind-blowing fact that a tiny group of billionaires now holds more wealth than most countries on this planet. Imagine that for a second. A handful of individuals have amassed fortunes so vast that they could rival the GDP of entire nations. I'm not kidding. We're talking about a world where a handful of people have more money than entire nations, with their populations, resources, and economies combined. This isn't just a statistic, it's a reality that affects every single one of us. The concentration of wealth in the hands of so few has far-reaching implications for society, democracy, and the future of our planet. It's like something out of a dystopian sci-fi movie, but it's happening right now, in the year 2025. The gap between the rich and the poor has never been wider, and it's only getting worse. We're living in a world where the ultra-wealthy can afford to build their own private utopias, while the rest of us are left to deal with the consequences of their excesses. This isn't just about some abstract economic theory, it's about real people's lives. It's about the growing number of people who are struggling to make ends meet despite working harder than ever before. It's about the erosion of the middle class and the rise of a new class of working poor. It's about the teacher working 3 jobs and still struggling to pay rent, while a CEO makes more money in an hour than that teacher will see in a lifetime. It's about the single parent who can't afford childcare, the college graduate drowning in student debt, and the elderly couple who can't afford their medication. These are the real-world consequences of wealth inequality, and they affect us all. But it's not just about the money, it's about power. The ultra-wealthy have the means to influence politics, shape public policy, and control the media. They have the power to shape the world in their image, often at the expense of the rest of us. This concentration of power undermines democracy and threatens the very fabric of our society. And let's not forget the environmental impact. The lifestyles of the ultra-wealthy contribute disproportionately to climate change and environmental degradation. Their private jets, mega mansions, and luxury yachts leave a carbon footprint that far exceeds that of the average person. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left to deal with the consequences of their actions, from rising sea levels to extreme weather events. But it's not all doom and gloom, there are solutions. We can push for policies that promote wealth redistribution, such as progressive taxation, universal basic income, and stronger social safety nets. We can support movements that advocate for economic justice and environmental sustainability. We can work together to build a more equitable and sustainable future for all. It's going to take all of us working together to make a difference. We need to hold our leaders accountable, demand change, and support policies that promote fairness and equality. It's a daunting task, but it's one that we can't afford to ignore. The future of our planet and the well-being of future generations depend on it. So, let's get to work. Let's fight for a world where everyone has a fair shot at success, where wealth is distributed more equitably, and where the power of the few doesn't come at the expense of the many. It's a big challenge, but together we can make it happen. Let's create a future that we can all be proud of. Now, you might be thinking, hey, didn't the stock market take a tumble recently? Yes, it did, and it wasn't just a minor blip. It was a significant downturn that sent shockwaves through the financial world. Investors everywhere felt the pinch, and the ripple effects were far-reaching. And you'd be right, it did. The numbers don't lie. The stock exchange floor was a frenzy of activity, with traders anxiously watching the screens, hoping for a rebound that never came. Financial reports were filled with red numbers, signaling losses across the board. Even the super rich aren't immune to economic downturns. You might think that their wealth insulates them from such events, but that's not entirely true. When the market takes a hit, their assets, often tied up in stocks and investments, take a hit too. Luxury car dealerships saw fewer buyers, and those opulent yachts, they stayed docked, unused. When those stock prices plummet, those billions can shrink faster than a snowman in a heat wave. Imagine watching your net worth drop by millions in a matter of hours. It's a harsh reality, even for those at the top of the financial food chain. Businessmen and women, who once felt invincible, found themselves staring at screens, their faces etched with worry. But here's the kicker. Even after losing a chunk of their fortune, these billionaires are still, for the most part, doing just fine. Their lifestyles, while slightly adjusted, remain luxurious. They might cut back on some extravagances, but their mansions and private islands are still very much a part of their lives. They've got safety nets that would make a trapeze artist jealous. Multiple homes, private jets, and a network of financial advisors working around the clock to mitigate losses. Their wealth is diversified, spread across various assets, ensuring that even in tough times they have a cushion to fall back on. Enough art to fill a museum. These collections aren't just for show, they're investments, often appreciating in value even when other assets decline. It's a different world, one where a painting can be worth more than an average person's lifetime earnings. Meanwhile, regular folks are struggling to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. The contrast is stark. While billionaires adjust their portfolios, everyday people are making tough choices about basic necessities. The economic divide becomes even more apparent during downturns, highlighting the disparities in our society. But in these challenging times, communities often come together. Support groups and volunteers work tirelessly to help those in need, providing a glimmer of hope and a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. It's a testament to the strength and solidarity that can emerge, even in the darkest of times. So while the billionaires may feel the dip, it's the everyday heroes who truly shine, reminding us that wealth isn't just measured in dollars and cents, but in the kindness and support we offer one another. Let's put some faces to these astronomical figures, shall we? You've got Elon Musk shooting for the stars with his rockets and electric cars, sitting on a mountain of billions. Then there's Jeff Bezos, the online retail king, who could probably buy a small country with his loose change. And let's not forget Bernard Arnault, the luxury goods magnate, who's basically cornered the market on expensive handbags and champagne. These are just a few examples, folks. The list of billionaires and their mind-boggling wealth goes on and on. Now, before you start fantasizing about Scrooge McDuck-style money vaults, let's talk about the real consequences of this wealth gap. When so much money is concentrated in the hands of so few, it creates a whole host of problems. It undermines democracy, giving the ultra-wealthy a disproportionate influence on our political systems. It stifles innovation, as small businesses struggle to compete against megacorporations. Section 5. The Crumbling Ladder. When hard work can't buy a decent life. Remember the American dream? That vision of a land where anyone, regardless of their background, could work hard, achieve success, and build a better life for themselves and their families? That idea that anyone, no matter where they come from, can work hard, achieve success, and build a better life? It was a promise that if you put in the effort, you could climb the ladder of success, buy a home, send your kids to college, and retire comfortably. It was a promise that hard work would be rewarded, and that everyone had a fair shot at achieving their dreams. Well, that dream is starting to feel more like a cruel joke for far too many people. The reality is that despite working long hours, many people are struggling to make ends meet. They are finding it increasingly difficult to pay their bills, save for the future, or even afford basic necessities. The cost of living continues to rise, while wages remain stagnant, leaving many feeling trapped in a cycle of poverty and financial insecurity. The rungs on that ladder of opportunity are breaking, folks. The path to success is becoming more and more elusive, with barriers and obstacles that seem insurmountable. For many, the dream of upward mobility is slipping away, replaced by a harsh reality of economic struggle and uncertainty. The gap between the rich and everyone else has become a chasm, and it's getting harder and harder to climb out of poverty, let alone achieve financial security. The disparity in wealth and income is growing, creating a society where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This widening gap is not just a statistic, it has real and devastating consequences for millions of people. We're talking about a system that's rigged against the majority of people, a system that favors the wealthy and powerful at the expense of everyone else. It's a system where the rules are written by those at the top, ensuring that they continue to accumulate wealth and power, while the rest of us are left to struggle and fend for ourselves. A system where the deck is stacked in favor of those who are already at the top. The influence of money in politics, the power of corporations, and the erosion of workers' rights have all contributed to a society where the American dream is increasingly out of reach for many. It's time to recognize these challenges and work towards creating a more equitable and just society where hard work is truly rewarded and everyone has a fair chance to succeed. Section 6. A world divided, the rich get richer, the poor get. Here's the thing about extreme wealth inequality. It doesn't just hurt the poor, it hurts everyone. It creates a society that's fractured and unstable, where resentment and distrust fester. It undermines our shared humanity, turning us against each other in a scramble for scraps. We end up with a world divided, where the haves retreat into their gated communities, and the have-nots are left to fend for themselves. Is that really the kind of world we want to live in? Section 7. Can we fix this? The million-dollar question. Actually, more like a trillion-dollar question. So, what's the solution? How do we bridge this chasm of wealth inequality? Well, folks, there are no easy answers. It's a complex issue with deep roots in our economic and social systems. But that doesn't mean we should just throw up our hands and give up. We need to start having serious conversations about things like tax reform, closing loopholes that allow the mega-rich to avoid paying their fair share. Section 8. Time for a change, small steps, big impact. We need to invest in education, healthcare, and affordable housing, creating opportunities for everyone to succeed. We need to support policies that promote economic fairness and empower workers. Listen, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but even small steps in the right direction can have a big impact. Section 9. What's your role? The future is in our hands. This isn't just a job for politicians and economists, folks. This is about all of us. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, and that the well-being of each member of our society depends on the well-being of all. So, what's your role in this? How are you going to be part of the solution? Think about it. The future, folks, is in our hands.